Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm here with one of my very good friends, Mary Gustafson. We have a little epic story on how we were brought together. I was brought to her, what was it, back in
I don't remember. Was it November?
November? Yeah, November, October.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess short story, I was going to look for a yoga session on a Sunday night. It was super random. And, I'm thinking, what kind of yoga session is going to be available on a Sunday night? So I look up on Google, I find a spot in Crystal Lake. I go there, it's like 4 p.m. on a Sunday night, really random. And there's this little glowing angel in there. And I got there like 20 minutes early.
That's awesome.
And, we just talk, and I basically tell her, I just got done playing baseball. I have a lot of writings. And I was like, what do you do? And then she tells me she's a writer, editor, and
a coach, a writing coach.
And a writing coach.
Yeah.
And
can I tell that tale?
yeah, you can tell it.
So I was getting ready to teach yin yoga on a Sunday night in McHenry County, and this guy walked in looking for a yoga class. And I remember asking him, he said he was retired, and I thought, wow, he looks awfully young to retire. So I asked him what he did, and he was a baseball player for the New York Mets. And it was just this moment of, wow, did I just meet this guy in McHenry County, Illinois? And things like that always happen, right?
Yeah.
They always happen. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's been amazing to get to know Kevin, and also to read his beautiful, beautiful poetry.
Oh, thank you so much.
And his philosophy about thoughts to hold on to, and how we not only pass on genetics and habits to our children and back to our parents, but we also pass thoughts to hold on to. And it's really, really just so helpful to think about that. Which thoughts do you want to hold on to? And which thoughts do you want to let go?
Absolutely, absolutely. With that being said, we're out here in Chicago. We got our social distancing going on. It's a little chilly out, but it's actually a great day. It's about 53, which for us Midwesterners, I guess Midwest, it's a great day out today. So what I want to do is I wanted to ask Mary just a couple things of throughout her career and her life. Obviously, made a video the other day on just my journey with writing. I wasn't like a creative writing major or anything like that. I just like to write. One of my buddies in pro ball really got me back on that path. I used to write when I was young, but one of my buddies' name is Patrick Biondi. He showed me a couple poetry books. I was like, dang, like I like this stuff, So I wrote on times where I felt anxiety, stress, whatever, just for fun, and I really enjoyed it. So that's kind of my story. It's very simple, and I wanted Mary to give a short, long, whatever it ends up being doesn't matter, but just some thoughts that she held on to throughout her process, and just kind of her story with it all.
Yeah, I just want to say too that neurochemically writing is really helpful. Like actually taking a pen and writing something down on a piece of paper, it brings more senses into whatever it is you're thinking about or discovering or exploring. So remember that sometimes like writing by hand is more effective even than typing on a computer, like a journal. But actually, I always wanted to be a writer, and I can remember a day when I woke up and thought, why aren't I writing a book? Because I was writing 15 minutes a day at the time, and after 2 years of the spiritual practice of writing 15 minutes a day, I had, 700 pages, and I realized 15 minutes is a page a day. So in a year, you could write 365 pages pretty easily. So I didn't know where to start, and I started writing about my life. And that's another thing, is you tell your life like it's a story, it gives you an entirely different perspective. And I think you found that in your poetry, right? Like on the bus and stuff with the players, like writing that poetry helps you get a different view of your current circumstance.
It absolutely does. Right? Yeah, for me it was it's funny because a lot of times, as being a male, you fall into this stigma of you can't show a certain type of emotion because you're not being masculine or whatever. And for me, it just allowed me to write down the feelings that I had and just to be like, wow, like I could write these down and feel good about them, and then it is what it is. It helps. So
it
yeah,
does.
absolutely.
Yeah, and then when I started writing about my life, here's what else happened is other things started to get edged out. I started to think about what's the next chapter, and I got to call my sister and ask her about what happened when I was little, and I started to think more and more about writing. And one day I started to write essays. I don't even know how it happened. It just naturally came in. I was in a writing group suddenly. I was talking to editors suddenly. I was being a writer, and that's really the first step to being a writer, is to write. It's not to like get everything lined up or get enough money or make enough time. It's just start writing, and then naturally things will happen to you that happen to writers. And people are going to pass by, so I'm going to give them a little social distance.
Organic environment right now. Hey.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. So I ended up writing an essay about meditation. So many experiences happened with this, but the best one was my best friend happened to know some monks who were in a temple in Woodstock, which I never would have imagined. And I met a monk who chased cobras in the jungle, caught them in a bag, who swam with dairy cows in the Mahaweli River, and realized I had to stop writing about my life and write about his. And I ended up writing a book about a chief monk. I ended up traveling to Sri Lanka, and then I got a job with someone pretty famous, and wrote with them for a long time. And now I teach other people how to write, and I really enjoy that. And yeah, that's my story.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I really feel that. I've really felt that with Mary a lot. Ever since we started working together, it's always been about like, it hasn't been about the money or this or that, or being an editor. She has to make her fair share, and that's totally fine. But it's always been about like, if you need this, I'll help you, or this. Like, it's never been about like X and X amount. It's just she really has a gift of bringing out that love in people.
Thanks, Kevin.
She's shown that. She's shown that with me, and I can see it around the other people she's with. But I guess another question I want to ask Mary is, throughout your life, I always see you kind of challenging yourself to move in love, and I guess for what we talked about with thoughts held on to, two things were thoughts held on to for staying in love and thoughts held on to for letting go. So I want to ask you, what are some of the thoughts that you hold on to let go and to stay in love?
Wow, that's such a great question. So I teach yoga too, and I teach that let go class, so it's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about what I say.
You're like a master.
One thought that has helped me is 3 sentences. It's all is well, all has been well, all will be well. It really helps me to say that. That's a thought that I like to hold on to help myself let go. Another thought is that I'm not in charge, and so that helps me let go too. To remember, like, I'm not in charge of this world or even my own life experience.
That's epic. That's like the ultimate let go.
Yeah, it is. How about you? What thoughts do you hold on to let go?
I think it just changes. I think just acceptance of it comes down to what you said. You're not in charge. A lot of times, we could attach these identities of things that we are. A professional athlete or a writer. But we're none of that. We really are none of that. These are just identities and layers that our mind likes, and that could help us move through love. Writing's a form where you get to move through love, and for me, sports has always been one. I enjoy writing. I enjoy juice fasting and detoxification. These are all platforms to help us move through love. So, to get back to your question, acceptance. I am nothing, but I am everything. They go, the duality, they go hand in hand. And be love.
Yes.
And Yeah, it could change throughout the day, but those are just, I guess, some of them. So.
And then another thought that really helps me is to remember that the world is spinning 67,000 miles an hour, and gravity is hugging us tight, and the sun is 93 million miles away, and we can see it. And the moon is about, I think it's 250,000 miles away, and you can see the moon. And the moon actually pulls tides and affects our insides, and those always remind me, wow, that's it. Just we're safe.
Yeah.
And so resting in gravity's hugs is a nice thought.
I love that.
Also, yeah, that really helps me.
That's a good one.
And knowing that when the carnival ride is over, gravity will let me go. Knock it off. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
That's it.
Cool.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think that I think that it's just getting back to love at all times, and getting back to within, beneath those layers that sometimes you might think might define you, but to get back to the truth inside. So
yeah, and Kevin has a gift for getting us to the truth. So
I appreciate it.
His poetry is really a gift. It really is too, Kevin. Your whole presence is a gift. So
thank you.
So glad I met you. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in here in wonderful Chicago, and I hope you guys have a great day.
Thanks. Love you.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.